Hey guys, Mike here from Lunch Money Comics. I'm back in Putnam, Connecticut for the Fire and Ice Festival. They have ice sculptures all over the town and they're having sales at all of the antique places, including the ones with comic books. Let's go check it out and see what we can find. So my first stop was, of course, Wonderland Comics. It's a great comic book and collectible store right in downtown Putnam. I've been there many times in the past, and just like all the other businesses during this festival, they were having a sale. In fact, it was 30% off all comic books. Pretty great. So they have a pretty awesome modern book collection, older books, back issues. They even have these cool spinner racks, which are always nostalgic to sort of spin around and look. I did find this Daredevil number 45, really cool Gene Colan cover of Daredevil fighting Jester, and it's overlaid on top of a real picture of the Statue of Liberty, something they sort of experimented with during the Silver Age. But the biggest reason I was in Putnam was I was meeting my good friend Jeff from Comic Spa. There he is with his buddy TJ, another comic book collector, and we sort of just spent the morning, hunting comic books together. You see here the New Mutants Marvel graphic novel. More on that in a little bit. So our next stop was Jeremiah's Antiques. It's actually a pretty huge indoor flea market / antique / consignment shop, and it's a great store in its own right, especially, if you're into antiques and vintage things. But what really sets this place apart is that they have an entire corner of the store dedicated to comic books. There it is. And most of these are owned by J&S Collectibles, who are also having a 20% off sale. But there are a ton of comic books here, and in all the times I've been to the store, I've never even come close to looking through everything. But what was really cool about having the three of us comic book collectors there is that we sort of tackled it as a team. We all knew what each other were into or were looking for, and we were able to go through almost all the comic books in pretty short order, and it was a lot of fun. Here I find this cool Bronze Age Flash with Reverse Flash on the cover. Here I find a Micronauts number 1 in a pretty high grade. This isn't a book I own or necessarily wanted, but Jeff is into early Micronauts, so I pulled this one out for him to look at it. Then I find this Captain Marvel number 1. I've always loved this cover. I actually used to own this book, but traded it away a while ago, so I was debating picking up this new copy to add to the collection. And this next one's awesome. It's a Deadman comic with a Neil Adams cover, but it had some serious condition issues. Another great thing about having Jeff there was that I could get his professional opinion on the condition of a book before buying it, which was pretty cool. All right, guys, I got to meet my good friend Jeff from Comic Spa. We got to check out some books. I got some really cool stuff I'm happy to add to the collection. Can't wait to go home and show you guys what I got. So there you go, guys. That was my, 4th or 5th visit to Putnam, Connecticut. I've mentioned it multiple times on my channel in the past. It's a delightful little town in northeastern Connecticut. That's great if you like, of course, comic books, but also, if you're an antique hound or you're just looking for a great little town to walk around, do some window shopping, check out some great restaurants, bistros. They even have some taverns in a brew pub. It's just a really cool place to go and spend a day or half a day. As usual, I'll make sure to put a link down in my description to all the places you saw in the footage, as well as somewhere around here to the other videos I've done on comic hunting in Putnam, Connecticut. Quick disclaimer, I have a pretty bad cold right now. I didn't have it when I was at Putnam. I didn't get anyone sick, but my voice is terrible. I want to apologize. I'll try to make this quick. The main reason I was there is that my good friend Jeff from Comic Spa was heading down with his buddy TJ to hunt for comic books, and they were going down based on my recommendation. So, of course, I wanted to go, but I also knew that they were having this special Fire and Ice Festival, which I think is kind of like a Valentine's Day themed thing, but it was almost more of like a February winter festival. And it lasted several weeks, and I had heard through the grapevine that multiple places down there were having sales. So I didn't need any more excuses than that. I headed down with them and spent a good part of that morning hunting for comic books. As I mentioned in the voiceover, I usually hunt by myself. I've never hunted comic books with other people. It was really, really fun. I mean, we all like different things, so we took turns sort of educating each other on different books. Just an absolute blast. So a special shout out and a thanks to both those guys. I had a really fun time with you guys. We went out for lunch and everything. Now, despite being there for like 4 hours or so, I actually didn't get to see the biggest place, which is the Antiques Marketplace. I had to go, so I just showed those guys, where all the comic books were and took off. Still, I ended up with a pretty great stack of comic books, very eclectic, and as I was looking at the footage, I realized I was having so much fun, I really didn't film any of these. So all of these will be a surprise to you, even if you watch the footage. Before I show you what they are, if you like this sort of stuff, go down, hit that like button, leave me a comment, feel free to subscribe, follow me on Instagram under Lunch Money Comics IG. let me show you guys what I got. So first up is this awesome t-shirt my sister got me for my birthday with this little short box on it. I don't know where she got it, but it's an awesome t-shirt. All right, so first up is a comic book that I got at Wonderland Comics. I've mentioned this place before on my channel. It's a really, really great, not only comic book store, but a collectible store. If you're into gaming and stuff, it's fantastic. And as usual, there were a ton of comic books there that I wanted, but there was one behind the counter that caught my eye. It's a book I've been looking for a long time, and this is one of the few things I got that you did see in the footage. This is the Marvel graphic novel number 4, The New Mutants. It's from 1982, of course, written by Chris Claremont, art by Bob McLeod, and this is the first appearance of the team, The New Mutants, and all of its members. First appearance of Cannonball, Sunspot, Karma, Danny Moonstar, and Wolfsbane. Now, I mentioned it many times in the past, I love the X-Men. I collect first appearances of the X-Men, and I'm a huge Chris Claremont fan. This has been on my want list for a really long time. As you can see, it's a different format. It's not a standard comic book. See, what happened is Marvel, I think under editor Jim Shooter, was the one who came up with this idea in the early 80s to basically start doing these larger format books, these graphic novels that were higher paper quality, and they were modeled after European comics from like the late 40s, or what we call French albums. That's what he was going for. It kicked off the same year this came out, so they actually put out 3 before this in the same year, 1982. And it's a really cool format, but I feel like a lot of people don't collect them as much, because they don't think of them as real comic books. But trust me, they definitely are. I see these books all the time. This one has a dark cover and it's square bound, so it tends to get pretty beat up. But still, I was excited to see this in the condition that it was in. Here's the thing. The price tag on it was $70. If you figure out their 30% discount, it would have been about $50, which I thought was pretty fair for what it was. But when I opened it up and looked at it, I noticed on the first page that it said second printing. Now, these books had tons of printings. This one had at least 6 printings. Let me know down in the comments if you know if it had any more than that. But lots of printings, and I was looking for the first printing. So when I said that kind of out loud, one of the owners, Zach, I actually got to meet him for the first time. I met his wife, the other owner, last time I was there. He said, oh, let me see that. He opened it up, confirmed it was second edition. He said, you know what? I'll sell it to you for $20. So, originally 70, discount would have been 50. He sold it to me for $20 straight up. So I thought that was a pretty great deal for a book I've always wanted. Again, first appearances of X-Men characters, very important Chris Claremont work. Absolutely loved it. I thought it was an absolute steal for $20. So thanks again to Wonderland Comics. Great story. You guys are great owners. I really appreciate coming down on this book. Very happy to add this to my collection. So as I mentioned in the footage, after Wonderland, we headed over to Jeremiah's Antiques. And as you saw, they have that really great comic book selection that is basically the brick and mortar setup for J&S Collectibles. They're a pretty ubiquitous, comic book seller in the New England area. I have the business card for the owner, Steve. I can give him calls if I have any questions or I'm looking for something specific, which I have a story to go along with this. I did make a call to him. But before I tell that story, I want to talk about the books that I got at the store. The first one, hey, speaking of New Mutants, this is a book that I've talked about on my channel very recently. It is The New Mutants number 29. It's from 1985, written by, of course, Chris Claremont, art by Bill Sienkiewicz. I love these painted covers by Bill Sienkiewicz. And the claim to fame here is it's the first appearance of Guido, aka Strong Guy. Strong Guy is another mutant, affiliated with the X-Men and X-Factor. I recently got this book. Why did I pick up another copy? Simple. This was $1. Like I said, they were having a sale of 20% off, so I got it for 80 cents. 80 cents for another first appearance of an X-Men character, guys. Always happy to do so. New Mutants number 29. So this next book you actually did see in the footage for a split second. This is The Flash number 225. It's from 1974. Cover art by Nick Cardy and Tatiana Wood. And I got this book for 2 reasons. One, it's a really cool cover, right? We have, Flash with Reverse Flash, aka Professor Zoom, and Green Lantern. Just a great looking Bronze Age cover. The second reason is it's in terrible shape. This book is wrinkled, it was stained, it had dirt on it, has a spine roll, has some color breaks and fading up here, but it was $5, so with a discount I got it for $4, and I had an ulterior motive with this book. So over my relationship with Jeff over the last couple of months, he's been showing me some of his tricks of the trade in sort of cleaning up a book. And as I mentioned on my channel in the past, you can do an awful lot with a simple dry clean of a book, and especially a buff. So I brought this one home, and using some Absarine, I was able to clean up a lot of the dirt on this book, and then using Jeff's trick of using a wool sock, I was able to buff this book and bring that gloss right back. And I've said it before, guys, you'd be amazed how much gloss comes out in a book, you know, especially from the Bronze Age. I wanted to experiment on a book that was pretty beat up. I would never have done that with a book that was worth a lot of money. I leave that to the professionals like Comics Bob, but I thought this would be a fun book to experiment on. I'm happy I did. It definitely presents better, and it's going to look great on the wall behind me. So there you go, guys. The Flash number 225 from 1974, a great little book to pick up for $4. So this next book has some connections to books I've mentioned recently on my channel as well. It is this Spirits of Vengeance number 1 from 1992. Really cool Adam Kubert cover. And of course, this is the first issue of the Spirits of Vengeance book, which is basically Spirits of Vengeance being the Ghost Riders. You see right here, Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch, who was the Ghost Rider when I was growing up in the 90s. This is sort of them teaming up. But more importantly, this is the second part of the 6-part Rise of the Midnight Suns storyline. I recently mentioned on my channel that I picked up Ghost Rider number 28 and 31, which are the first cameo and first full appearance of the Midnight Suns team, respectively. So this is part 2. Part 1 is the first time you see the cameo of the villain Lilith, who the Midnight Suns are fighting in the storyline. This issue here is her first full appearance. So very cool here. I mean, it's really neat just to see the team up between the two Ghost Riders in the formation of this team. I'm only missing a few of this 6-issue run. I think Morbius number 1 is the one I'm missing, the one that comes to mind first. But very cool storyline. And of course, they just had a recent video game featuring the Midnight Suns. And I also think, for those of you who like Spec, I think the Midnight Suns are a pretty cool team that have a fairly high likelihood of showing up on the silver screen at some point. Now, all of these issues came in a poly bag with a poster. And this one, when it was in its bag and board, looked like it was in the poly bag. Great. So I brought it home and I went to put it in a new bag and board. And when I took it out, I realized that the bag had been opened and the poster was missing. Bummer. Not only that, when I went to go put this back in the bag, I couldn't do it. So this is going to now stay separate forever. That's fine because there's no poster in there, and that's really the only reason to kind of keep those bags, you know, if the original cards or posters there. But that's okay because this book is in mint shape. It's perfect, and it doesn't even have that poly bag line going down the middle. So very cool book, guys. Spirits of Vengeance number 1. Cool team up between the two Ghost Riders. First full appearance of the villain Lilith. Cool book. Oh, it was $5, so I got it for $4 with a discount. Not bad at all. So this next one's a great book too, guys. You know, I have seen this book at Jeremiah's Antiques every time I've gone and never pulled the trigger. Well, I'm really happy I finally got it this time. This is The Avengers number 185. It's from 1979. Awesome George Perez cover art. And the claim to fame here is that this is the backstory and origin of Wanda and Pietro Maximoff, aka the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. It's also the first time that the Scarlet Witch encounters the Darkhold. Anyone who saw Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness knows the significance there. And the Darkhold also has a huge significance with the Midnight Suns as well. So very cool book there. Not only does it have some great George Perez art, but I love any of these backstories with notable Avengers. And these ones also happen to have some serious X-Men connections as well. So very cool comic book pickup here. Sticker price was $8, so I got it for a little over $6. Very happy to pick up this one here. Pretty cool. So next up, we have a modern book. Take a picture, guys. You will not see this on my channel very much. This is House of X number 1 from 2019. This, of course, is the first issue of Jonathan Hickman's sort of soft reboot of the X-Men and their island nation of Krakoa, art by Pepe Larraz. You know, and this really sort of changed the X-Men significantly over, you know, the last couple of years. I already own this book. I got this book actually off the newsstand. I ended up getting it at, I think, Newbury Comics, and it was the last copy that day, and it was pretty beat up. The one I have, it wasn't in great shape, had some spine ticks on it. I read it, and in fact, I've read the entire Hickman run, but I wanted a higher grade copy of this. So original sticker price here was $10. With the discount, I got it for $8. You know, the original newsstand price is $6. So for $2 more, I'm happy to replace my reader copy with a high grade one. That's it, guys. Like I said, you won't see modern books on my channel very often, but House of X number 1 from 2019, pretty good pickup right there. So this next book is awesome. I had never seen it before I laid eyes on it in Jeremiah's Antiques, and I had to have it. It is Spider-Woman number 37 from 1981. The claim to fame here is that it's the first appearance of Teresa Rourke, aka Siren. You see this woman right here with a costume very similar to the X-Men's Banshee. Well, that's because she is Banshee's daughter. However, in this issue, she is a villain because she was raised by Banshee's cousin, Black Tom Cassidy. Black Tom Cassidy had a long-time villain association and partnership with the Juggernaut you see right there. And in this issue, yeah, she's a bad guy. They team up all together and they're trying to rob, I believe, the San Francisco Mint. Spider-Woman is trying to stop them. Now, Siren's a pretty cool character. She ends up becoming a good guy almost immediately, and she was a longtime member of the Team X-Force, basically for the whole run, from like issues like 3 to 100. And that is in and of itself enough for me to get this book, right? But there's a couple other cool distinctions here. One, the X-Men are in this book. And the reason the X-Men are in this book is because this book was written by Chris Claremont. Chris Claremont actually wrote several issues of Spider-Woman in the early 80s, and this one has a fantastic cover art by Steve Lealoa. And I think probably the coolest thing about this book is that not only is the cover great, but you see it's a really dark cover. This book is in fantastic shape. There's no color breaks. There's no issues with it at all. In fact, I showed it to Jeff from Comic Spa, and he noted the same thing. He's like, wow, that is a really good-looking book. It had a sticker price of $25, so with a discount, I got it for $20. Very happy to add this high-grade first appearance of an X-Men affiliated character, especially when it's written by one of my favorite comic writers of all time. So there you go, guys. Spider-Woman number 37. Very, very cool. So finally, we come to the last book, and it's by far the biggest book I got. I mentioned earlier I had an interesting story to go along with J&S Collectibles. Well, here it is. So you can tell from the footage that, at Jeremiah's Antiques, there's lots of long boxes and short boxes on the floor and at waist level, but there's also like some bookshelves and some like wall-mounted shelves for some of the nicer books. But above all of these, on a shelf up near the ceiling, are a whole bunch of slabbed books. Now, I made no secret, I don't love slab books, but there's still some pretty great comic books up there, and they're priced very well, even without the 20% discount. So I always look, and as soon as I walked in, my eye caught a book up on that top shelf near the ceiling that I had recently bought. It was actually DC Showcase number 60, the first appearance of the Silver Age Spectre. I've been really big into Spectre lately, guys. He's like my favorite DC character. I've been collecting him left and right. I'm really proud to have gotten a lower grade one a few weeks back. And in fact, I don't have it right now because Comic Spa is working on it. I'm big on Spectre, so I was really happy to see this. The problem is I couldn't see it very well from where I was standing. I'm not a very tall guy. It was way up there on the top shelf. All I could tell is that it was a CBCS 7.5. So I used my camera to zoom in to try to see what the price tag was. I thought it said $200, but I wasn't positive. Took a picture of it, and I meant to go tell somebody, who works there to take it down so I could look at it. Well, started talking with Jeff and TJ and completely forgot about this book until I got home. I went home, was cleaning out the footage, I didn't need extra footage, things like that, and I saw it, and I said, I completely forgot about that book. Luckily, as I mentioned earlier, I have the phone number of the guy who owns these books. So I called up Steve and I said, hey, I saw a book at Jeremiah's today's that belongs to you. I couldn't quite tell the price. It might have been $200. I know you have the sale going on. And he didn't even think it was actually at $200, but the discount would have put it at $160. I asked him what the best he could do. He said, how about $150? And I said, that is awesome. So I went back the very next day. And, I had the owners call Steve, just to confirm the price, and I got it. Before I show it to you, though, I want to do a quick shout out to two people I met there that day. So as I'm talking with the owners, they're getting the ladder ready. A couple people turn around and, they recognized me from the channel. They were actually at Putnam that day, hunting for comic books because of my recommendation. We had a fantastic conversation about comic books. So shout out to Jose and Maria. It was great meeting you guys. It was really fun just talking shop with you guys and just getting to chat. But without further ado, here is the book, guys. This is Showcase number 60 from 1966, the first Silver Age appearance of Jim Corrigan, the Spectre. Cover art by Murphy Anderson, story by Gardner Fox and Julius Schwartz. Listen, I'm not going to get into the whole difference between CBCS and CGC because I have no idea. I have never owned a CBCS slab before. All I'm going to tell you right now is that it is definitely thinner. It definitely feels less sturdy, especially the top and bottom of this. They kind of flex a little bit, which is a little disconcerting. I've heard some people say CBCS is tighter or more consistent in the grading. I don't know. My only point is this. This is a 7.5. And as I'm looking at this book, there are only a couple of spine ticks on it that are barely color breaking, and there's a crease right here, barely color breaking. I looked at the greatest notes, and this is sort of the biggest mark against it. However, this book is beautiful, guys. For a book from 1966, it's in exceptional shape. And I'm really, really excited to pick up a nicer copy of this book to go with my lower quality one. So I don't really care what slab it's in. I think it's a very, very great presenting book. Very happy to pick this up. I got it for $150, guys, and you know, I've been looking at prices of this, you know, on eBay and things like that, and I think I got a fantastic deal for this book. I don't think it's a book that's going to go down in value. I think it's a book that has every opportunity to go up in value for those of you who like this sort of stuff. I'm just happy to own a really great presenting first appearance of Silver Age Spectre to put on my shelf behind me. Really cool book. Very happy I got it for the price I did. Let me know, guys, down in the comments what you think of this book, what you think of the price I paid. Was it worth picking up? I'm pretty happy with it either way. Awesome. So there you have it, guys. Another very successful trip to the always awesome Putnam, Connecticut. Head on down to those comments and let me know which one of my pickups you like the best. Was it my purchase from Wonderland Comics, the first appearance of the New Mutants? Was it one of these non-slab gems that I got at Jeremiah's Antiques? Or was it the big boy, the DC Showcase number 60, first Silver Age Spectre? Man, am I happy to pick up another one of these. Head on down to those comments, guys. Sound off. I love reading through all of them. In the meantime, guys, I hope you keep looking for comic books in strange and unusual places. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.